while, so I'll be very respectful of your time. So I'll just start off answering any questions you may have.
Seth?
Coach, as you look back on the season, and obviously the bowl's still yet to be played, but as you look back on the season, how would you say you as a coach and the staff have kind of evolved maybe as the season went on, and what would you say was your hardest challenge to overcome this year?
I think you're always evolving. It's not just a football coach, it's anybody in their profession. If you want to be the best at what you do, you're constantly evolving. You're trying to get better. That's why I went to the Cleveland Browns game last night, to sit and try to take something in and be on the sideline and walk around, and you're constantly evolving. And I think one of the big things you have to do is step back from an emotional attachment standpoint and review everything in your football program from A to Z. And that's what I'm doing right now, trying to juggle that with bowl schedules and recruiting. And it starts with me first and foremost. I believe the way you improve is it starts with yourself. So we'll review everything in our football program and how can we continue to move forward and get better. When you're building a football program, there's 4 stages that you go through. And the first stage is the culture. You have to make sure your locker room is right. You have to make sure your standards, your expectations are aligned, and there can be no compromising in your culture. It's what you stand for. The next thing is being competitive, working to be competitive on the field of play. And then the next phase, the third phase, is winning. Finally winning games. And then the fourth phase is how do you handle winning? Because the more you win, the more that's at stake. But when you start to win, everybody's going to play their A game against you. And as I said, week in and week out, there's very few uncontested victories in the Southeastern Conference. So I'll review everything. I'm just proud of our players. Again, I said it Saturday afternoon, we did not let any adversity define us. We defined ourselves by the way we continue to grow, elevate our play, and get better and better and better. And I thought we were able to learn from our mistakes and continue to move forward.
Patrick, then Jimmy, then Heather.
It's the first time you've been at a loss for words.
All right, go ahead, Jimmy, then Heather.
Which one will you visit with Kurt Majid and Sutton and Nathan about their futures?
We still have time, and we'll provide the necessary means, and that's the thing with the resources and all the NFL personnel that we have on our staff, and and also the relationships that we have at the next level. And it's educating your players to make the best possible decisions for them in their careers and the longevity of their careers and their families. And Tennessee's a very special place, obviously, to be at. So we'll have ongoing discussions. We talk all the time, but nothing significant. But we'll sit down as it progresses.
Would you like to have Maven and Sutton resolve before bowl game, or does it matter?
No timetables. Whenever they feel comfortable. And a lot of times it takes a while. I do wish the process was faster, but again, we have all the facts for them, and again, it's all about educating individuals on making great decisions. But I respect them. I respect all of our players and their decisions, but love everything for what they stand for and what they're all about. So we have great relationships, and we'll continue to have dialogue.
Heather, then John Bryce, then John Adams.
Butch, obviously the coaching carousel has already cranked up, and I think following Georgia's decision to part ways with Mark Richt, Nick Saban came out and kind of criticized the profession, basically saying he's just kind of dumbfounded at where they've gotten, where you win 9 games and then you could not be retained. What are your comments on that situation and just how high the expectations are in this league?
Well, the expectations are very, very, very high. Week in and week out. And again, that's one of the things that separates the Southeastern Conference from any other conference in the country is the high standards, the high expectations. It's hard to comment, what other people do in decisions just because you never know. But I will tell you this, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Coach Rick, both as a football coach and both as a human being. I agree with what Coach Saban said. This isn't professional football. It's still part of the educational value. You're still developing 17 to 22-year-old individuals from an academic standpoint, from a social standpoint, mentoring them, guiding them. And I know that, our reputations, a lot of times our careers are based on 12 opportunities. 12 opportunities, you're either good or you stink. And we live in a week-to-week profession. But I do agree with everything that Coach Saban said, and I think some of these have been disappointing for our profession. And I'm concerned the path that we're heading down right now.
John Bryce, John Adams, Brent, Steve, and Paul.
Butch, I think you talked in what you just said earlier, you're trying to constantly evolve, and I think you talked previously about sitting down and going over things with your staff at the end of every season. How do you go about the evaluation process with your staff and in evaluating your staff? What are the factors that you look at? And then I know finals are this week, but academically, do you believe that you guys will be in good shape for the bowl game?
I do believe that we'll be in good shape for the bowl game. Obviously, we have to finish very, very strong in the classroom. And we emphasize that, as you know, in our football program each and every day, being champions on the field and champions in the classroom and in the community. So we've given them a few days off. They'll have a few days off next week too, to make sure that they're ready to go for their final examinations. And we treat it just like getting ready for a game. You have to do your homework. You have to make sure you do your studying. In terms of the evaluation, again, it starts with me first and foremost, and I have a set criteria that we look for, and it's meeting with every coach, it's evaluating them on, a number of factors. How can we continue to move the needle? How can we continue to move this football program forward? And I'll continue to do that. Right now, your time is minimal, but when I jump on a plane for recruiting, I'm working on it. Flying home last night from Cleveland, I was working on it, in my mind and going through things. And I'll talk with a number of people and, take some time when the players have off, to just continue to go back and study everything in our program. And then if there's some areas we need to improve on, obviously, as a caretaker in Tennessee football, I have to make sure that we're ensuring this football program for long-term success.
John Adams, Brent, Steve, Paul, Danny Parker, Patrick Murray, and then one or two more.
Butch, you addressed the volatile nature of the profession, particularly in the SEC. At this juncture, Tennessee, would you consider another head coaching job for more money?
I've stated it very clearly. Tennessee is a place I want to be. My family loves it here. Our fan base has been extremely loyal. All you have to do is look at our fan attendance. I believe we averaged over 100,000 fans the first time since 2008. I think our attendance has been up over 11,000 each season. I'm a big believer in loyalty, and right now Tennessee is where I'm extremely happy. This is home to me, and this is home to my family.
Brent, Steve, Paul.
Butch, college football's become a lot about about transfer, whether you transfer at midterm or the end of the year. As a coach, how do you deal with the individuals? Do you sit down and talk to guys, and how frustrating is it that you have to worry about the transfer issue the way it's evolved in college football?
It almost gets to a point where you're recruiting more of your current team than you are your prospective team, with prospective student athletes. But I think it's just talking and having open dialogue, and it has been kind of the age of the transfer, and I think that's just part of the generation and society of you always think that it's better somewhere else. You can go somewhere, maybe play more, but we'll sit down. If there's anyone, we'll have those conversations. We'll map out their future, their career here, the things that they need to do to continue to improve. But it is reality. It is part of our profession, and it's not just in Tennessee. It's everywhere across the country, and every coach has to deal with it. And I deal with it with face-to-face communication. I love our players. I love everyone in our program. And it's all about a great fit for them and trying to continue to improve them on a daily basis.
Steve, Gargi, and Paul.
Don't want to steal Dustin's thunder, but with Majid, is there any possibility of him playing in the bowl game? And is there anybody, I know it's still a long way out, is there anybody who's definitely out for the bowl game at this point from an injury standpoint?
As of right now, no, there's really nobody that is out. Jawan Jennings should be back. He tried to go last week. It was a thigh bruise. He suffered that on the one kickoff where he had the hit. And, you know, to his credit, he tried and he tried and he tried. And to the point where he was on Friday, and that's when we made the decision. He just couldn't go after Friday's practice. Marquez North, we'll see. He's been obviously, as we all know, very limited, but with the extended period of time now, I would fully anticipate him playing in the bowl game, but you never know with the body. In terms of Kurt Majid, still don't know yet. I know he's going to go back to Nashville and reconvene with the doctors there, I believe, in about 10 days. So we'll know a little bit more. So, you know, that's continue to evolve just day by day.
Paul.
Butch, a lot of coaches talk about December preparing for a bowl. It's really important for a lot of younger guys. Who are some of the guys that maybe redshirted, like Drew Richmond or Menzel Boulware, other young guys that this could be a big springboard for them for the spring?
It's a big springboard, and it's a big opportunity for our football team because we're so young. But, you know, the individuals you just mentioned, Drew Richmond, Menzel Boulware, you know, you learn through playing football. And the great thing about it, too, is we can couple practices with also lifting, so they're continuing to develop their strength levels as well. They're going through a non-travel lift, which we call it, which is a developmental lift. You know, their bodies are taking off. Darryl Taylor, anytime you can play football, it's very, very good. And then also some freshmen that have minimal reps. Jack Jones, this will be critical for him to continue to get the reps. Chance Hall, you know, Brett Kendrick, you know, with missing some time in terms of injuries. So I think it's very beneficial for our football team to be practicing and really just to be together. Our team really grew last year, I thought, during bowl preparation and being here and having different events. And, you know, the campus is kind of shut down, so it's just you here. And you really get to know your teammates even more. And it's the last time that this football team will be together. So it makes for a great month.
Danny Parker in the back, and Patrick Murray, Dustin, Patrick Brown, and Wes, and that'll be it.
With the 5-game winning streak and how attractive you guys are for the bowl sites with attendance and everything, do you ever sit down with Dave Hart and talk about schematics and what a bowl opponent could do for you, your team, and your program in 2016? Does it ever get to that where, like, hey, Mr. Hart, if we could play this type of offense, this type of defense, that would be great?
We talk briefly, we talk every day, but really that's out of our control. That's up to the bowl selection committee and who they choose to be your opponent. Probably the most challenging thing right now is trying to think of what teams you could face and trying to get a jump start on all the breakdowns. So, you know, your graduate assistants are doing their due diligence right now, trying to get a jump start because we will practice this weekend. And so you want to expose them a little bit, but you know, the first couple of practices of bowl is really about us. You really go back and you have kind of a first few practices of preseason camp. You go back and redefine the fundamentals and the small details and work on individual improvement. But you know, again, those are uncontrollable factors. We're just excited to be able to go to a bowl game, represent the University of Tennessee. And I'm excited for our seniors. And when you hear our players talk about the bowl experience that they had in their preparation in winning the game and everything that went into it, that's what college football is all about. And you know, to hear them educate our younger players about the bowl experience and everything that went into it, it's very special. And I'm excited too that this loyal fan base gets to go to a bowl game again. And that's what Tennessee football is about. Is, you know, we're top 5 in bowl appearances, and we fully expect to be playing in big time bowl games each and every year.
Patrick Murray, Dustin, Patrick Brown,